Do you really think you need big lights and fancy stands and softboxes if you want to use a light for your photography? I don't think so. And here's why. Hey guys, my name is Kay and I take photos for a living, or maybe 2 by gears. Yeah, yes or no, yes or no. As I mentioned earlier during intro, you don't really need fancy lighting gears to create super professional images. Like, you just don't. You don't. All you need is, for a beginner, all you need is small speed light, and if you can understand what I'm about to tell you next, that's going to help definitely. First of all, your understanding of light is way more important than your fancy lighting gear. Like, imagine if you have a really fancy battery powered mono light and fancy softbox and like a stand, and if you don't know what you're doing, like, are you gonna shoot like the TTL, like really the fancy gears? Do you think you can control the balance between ambient and the light on the subject? When it comes to lighting, it is really a matter of how much you understand of the space you're shooting at. How much ambient light at what color temperature, and how much power your light can create, and what kind of shadow do you want to make? What kind of like a directional, like the 3D-ish like depth, like feeling do you want to make? It really comes down to how much you know. Imagine if you have a really fancy gear and you don't know how to use it. So you're just putting somewhere that looks like the right place and putting it to TTL, which is basically like a auto mode for the light. Your image might look great, but that's not gonna be like the image that you really intend to create. Do you know what I mean? And second of all, another reason why you don't need to start out with a huge light is that it is actually easier to practice light in light kind of controlled space. So that kind of includes more like a studio or some place where there's no artificial lights around, so that you can kind of maximize the power of speed light you have, as I recommend. And practicing light in this situation, you're going to see exactly what this light is doing to your subject. And while you're practicing it, do you really need a huge light? No. All you need is just one speed light and stand and umbrella maybe. So this is an example of one of the recent shoot that I did. So I know that this place is pretty dark and the space is a little bit limited. And there's a limited counter space where I could put things up. So I decided to bring really minimal setup. I had my faithful 8200 from Godox and one shoot-through umbrella. It was probably around about 50 centimeter, and a stand. I think it was Manfrotto 1051, which is really compact stand. You can kind of stack them together. So I like to use that stand for a lot of my shoots. So when you see the shoot, some of the shoot I have to use really slow shutter speed so that I can still capture the surrounding. So basically I need to capture the atmosphere of this environment. At the same time, I should be able to light the subject as I want. Controlling the ambient light is usually done by controlling Controlling ambient light is usually done by controlling shutter speed. And then I choose the power of the light I want to use. Then boom, there's an image. As I mentioned earlier, how much you understand is gonna be the key to get a great image at the end. And third, this is kind of a funny thing, But to me personally, this has always been a thing that I really don't like. Imagine, usually when you first start out, we don't have enough money to hire an assistant. When you don't have an assistant, which means you have to carry all of your gears yourself. I don't know what my cat's doing behind, but whatever. Yeah, so you're carrying your light stand bag, your lights, your camera bag, and maybe tripod. And imagine if you have to walk to the location. It's a lot of work to create an image. So sometimes I tell people, don't over carry stuff. Look for the place or research the place where you're going to shoot and carry the gear that you just need. And a lot of times, unless you're shooting in midday sun during summer, which sun is super bright, one flashlight or one speed light can actually create pretty big difference in your image. But yeah, and it's a lot easier to carry, like one speed light, small stand, an umbrella. And you can kind of use your camera bag as a weight to the stand so that it doesn't knock over. It's so much easier than carrying 2 mono lights, 3 stands in the bag, and like 2 big soft boxes, and my full gear in my camera bag, carrying around for like a 1 or 2K hike. Ooh, no thank you. So, what do we need? As I mentioned before, you need speed light and you need a stand. You can maybe use like flashlight without any modifier, or maybe bounce it off the wall if you're in the right place where you can use like ceiling or the wall on the sides. But a lot of times I really recommend you to carry one small umbrella. You can use like the shoot-through umbrella, which is like the half transparent like looking, or you can use like the reflective umbrella, which you kind of put it against the subject, the light comes back to you. It's really totally up to you. And having those 3 items, it's not much. You might just need a 1 small bag to carry around, but it's not like 2-3 bags you have to carry. So it's gonna be a lot easier, and you get to go out shoot more because like, you know, it's easier to go out with like less stuff. Yeah. So I don't know how you think. This is purely based on my personal experience trying to learn how to use light. Because from the beginning, like as you all know, I love gear so much. So I really bought a lot of gears when I started out. Probably shouldn't. And a lot of gears I really wasn't even using it because it was such a hassle to carry around. And then later on, the more I think about it, there's always certain light and certain modifier I get to use, and they're usually not the biggest ones. And if I'm gonna be by myself, I also gotta be like able to carry things my own. I don't want my clients to carry my items because like I am struggling with the weights. You know, clients are clients. Unless you have assistant, you have to be able to handle your gears your own. I mean, I think at least that's like how the professionals do, right? So that's all I have here today. And next video is probably going to talk about how do we use one simple flash setup in limited space. It's going to be more like how to use a bounce flash, which is probably the easiest technique you can learn. At the same time, it might be one of the most effective and practical technique that you can use as a photographer or for somebody who wants to use flash or light. Anyways, if you like this video, please click likes and subscribe, and I'll come back with next video pretty soon. Not this long, I promise.